Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday. I'm your host, Nicole Crone. I am calling in from my office that still has all of the stuff for She Leads because surprisingly, I am recording this ahead of time. And I know exactly what I want to talk about today because I've realized that I don't have one episode that simply explains what is NLP. And as you may have heard on Biz Besties last week, been getting asked a lot, what is NLP? How do I help people? What does it mean? And recently I've made some new discoveries with my gene keys about how NLP is actually my gift and why it is so important for me to do this work in the world. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about NLP for money, NLP for business, NLP for life. So stick around. I don't presume that it's going to be too long of an episode because I want to keep it simple. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty and overcomplicate what this modality is. And I want you to be able to understand how effective it is. So let's start with it. NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. It is a way that we can take a psychological approach and have a connection between a neurological approach, between our language, our behavior, and our patterns. If I was to do a really simple explanation, I would say that NLP is based on the idea that changing how you think and communicate can totally transform all of your behaviors and outcomes. And the way that this happens is the N, neuro, is how you process information mentally. So think about how we take in information through our five senses. Whether you smell something and then you pull up a memory of an image, you hear something and you create a memory or an image, you taste something, same thing, you feel something, you see something. So the way that we process information mentally is through the five senses. Then once we have that information, we create an image in our mind. So for example, a lot of people will tie like scents to their grandma's house or something like that. So say for example, you're thinking of like baked buns and you smell baked buns and your brain takes that in and right away you're like back at grandma's house when you're a little kid. Now what is happening without you even trying to process it, because it all happens on autopilot, is you're creating an internal language where you might not say it out loud, but internally you're thinking something along the lines like, that smells like grandma's house, or I miss grandma, or I should call grandma. And that internal language then allows you to create a pattern, a behavior, the program, that's the P in NLP. So we move from neuro-linguistic programming. We take in information from the outside world externally. Our mind makes a mental image. That mental image creates an internal language. That internal language often becomes an external language. And then you go out and about in the world and you take action and you have a pattern, you have a habit, you have a behavior, and that ultimately creates your program. So you can change your responses, you can change your limiting beliefs, you can achieve better results in various aspects of life. And one of the ways that I've been describing NLP is that it is a pattern interrupter. So I am a pattern interrupter. And this is really cool because what happens is with Aligned CEO Method clients, for example, we have them fill out their tracker every single week. And so we can start to pay attention to the patterns. Me as their coach, I look at their tracker and I see, oh, here's a good pattern for this person. Every single time she does this, then this is the result she gets. Or here's a limiting pattern for this person. Every single time she doesn't do this or holds herself back from doing this, the result that she gets or ultimately doesn't get is this. And so I can see how this thing over here ties to this thing over here, and what's in between is a pattern. We call it a pattern, we call it a behavior. And I recently found out through working with Ellie McMillan, who I'm doing deconditioning sessions with, and deconditioning is a part of human design and gene keys, because in human design, we like to find out the flashy, fun stuff about ourselves. So for example, I know that I'm a 2-4 generator. So the 2 side of me is really hermit. I like to do things on my own and be by myself and be quite introspective and process information individually. And then when I do go out and about, like for example, going into She Leads this weekend, the 4 side is like the mayor. I can be a social butterfly, connect with everybody, make everybody feel welcome. Like this is a gift of mine to go inwards, store up all my energy, feel really good, then go out and be social. So I know this about myself. I know that I'm a sacral responder. I don't need any time to process information. It's either a gut yes or a gut no for me. I've found out other pieces of information, like I'm a non-specific manifester versus a specific manifester. But one of the things that we ultimately started to discover is that when you are wired a particular way, then if you have been brought up and conditioned to also perform a certain way, say be the good girl or get the good grades or be the people pleaser or fall into perfectionism or whatever it might be, those are all conditions that are placed on you societally that are not part of how you are made up. And your human design and your gene keys, they don't lie. It's how you were formed and how you are formed. So the work that we're doing with deconditioning is we can recognize all of the ways that I am my best self, but then we can also see, is there any layer of conditioning on there? Any way that I'm trying to show up in this world and be a people pleaser, be the A+ student, and if I'm not that, then it doesn't feel good enough. And in the deconditioning work, we've looked at gene keys and we've looked at my Pearl sequence and we've looked at my vocation number. And my vocation number is 44, gate 44. And gate 44 literally says the pattern interrupter. And when Ellie was going over my chart with me, she was like, this is literally perfect for you because this is what you do with people inside of Aligned CEO method with your NLP coaching is you interrupt the pattern. And if you're listening to this and that's not quite making sense and you're like, I don't understand what you mean by interrupting the pattern, what I am specifically wired and trained to do is hear you talk for no more than 5 minutes. And if I was to ask you, what do you really want and why don't you have it yet? So what do you really want? You want the house, you want the job, you want the money, you want the partnership, you want the body. You would tell me some interesting reasonings and different life events and things that are happening. And I would be able to hear, your pattern. I'd be able to hear like, when else has this happened in your life where you've wanted this thing, but this part of you has stopped you from getting it? And so when I'm working with groups of individuals like Aligned CEO method, and we've got 40 plus people in there, how can I interrupt everybody's individual patterns? Oftentimes society has a pretty general pattern. We've got a pattern of make more money and then spend more money, or make more money and be afraid to lose all that money, or make more money and hoard all that money. So there's like some general patterns that I can recognize and that we can break. But the benefit to being inside of Aligned CEO method is that there's opportunity to be individually coached every 2 weeks. And so this is what will happen is people say, hey, can I go in a room with you, Nicole? They won't say interrupt my pattern. They'll say, I'm having trouble with this. And then the NLP side of me, I help them form an image. So I help them do that neuro piece. Describe to me if we were... Like I'm going to hold up a photo of my dog Louie right now. Okay, so describe to me if we were looking at a photo of what you're describing and it's in a picture frame, like what is actually happening in the photo? Describe your body language. Tell me what is going on. How do you feel? Then we would take that photo and we would be able to see, okay, so you're able to describe the photo where like you don't feel your best or you're feeling worried or doubtful or fearful or whatever it might be. Now what we have to do is replace the image. So we need to create a replacement image. So that's what I help people do. Once we create that replacement image, we then need to match language to it because that's the linguistic piece. So just like over here where we're talking about, I really want to go all in on my business. And then there's this fearful image of looking at my bank account and the money's not there. And then I have to go on LinkedIn and apply for a new job. And then the language that is formed with that is, this is never going to work for me and I don't know how to do this. Over here, we create that other image where you're logging onto your computer, you're meeting your ideal client, you're cozy in your office, you're cozy in your comfy clothes, you've got your coffee, like life is good. And then the language we create around that is also incredibly important about what words come before what words. So we might say something like, it's really fun and enjoyable for me to work my own business, rather than working my own business is really fun and enjoyable for me. And I'm going to talk about the difference between that in just a moment. So I really help people with their language because your subconscious believes every single thing that you hear. So we now are creating a new language for them that they are going to start repeating, because what we say on repeat creates our beliefs. And what we believe is then how we go out and take action in the world. And how we go out and take action in the world reflects back to us our reality. And then our reality is just a reflection of our thoughts on repeat. And it's a cycle. So we create a new image, neuro. We create a new language, linguistic. Now, you're going to go out there in the world and you're going to take different actions, rather than imagining that, like, what's the point of opening up your laptop and trying to make sales because it's never going to work anyway. So then you just get up and walk away from your desk and you go do something else. Maybe you mindlessly scroll, or again, you look for another job because you don't actually believe that the action you take will provide you the life that you want. But now over here in scenario B, where we've made the replacement image, we've created the very specific linguistic language to go with it. Now, what happens is you are starting to become wired to be a new person who then takes different actions, and then your program is different. Maybe you wake up and you start to do different habits and different patterns in the morning than what you used to do. Rather than hitting snooze, the type of woman who gets out there and builds her dream business actually doesn't want to hit snooze. You're rewiring your brain. And just like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, neurons that fire together wire together. So it makes it so much easier when you start to do something on repeat. So you wake up today and you try and do that thing differently. And then you wake up tomorrow and you try and do that thing differently. And then the next thing you know, it's just who you are. It's just what you do. It's who you've become. So in NLP, there's a few key concepts, and some of them are like modeling successful behaviors, reframing negative thoughts, establishing rapport through mirroring, using specific language patterns to influence thoughts and behaviors. There's all these different modalities we can do. Like, I've taken our clients through 3-part visualization. I've taken them through anchoring techniques, through the swish method. Like, there are so many fun different NLP strategies. I want to give you an example right now with money to close this off, your language around money, and then you can start to notice this with your language around anything else. So you probably have heard people out there talk about affirmations, right? In the positive thinking space, it's like, just create affirmations. But if you do not believe that affirmation, you will never move closer towards it. So we need to create language that has like bridging the belief, and language that makes it so that you can pull up an emotion that actually resonates with you. So here's my example. Where I see a lot of people go wrong when they're trying to create an affirmation around making more money is making more money is really easy. They want to believe that making money is really easy. And then it continuously feels hard for them. As soon as I hear somebody say making money is easy, but I know that they don't actually believe that, I know that they will never actually believe that if they keep telling themselves that sentence in that specific scenario. We have to flip it, and here's why. When you say making money, your brain, your subconscious mind, body and brain, automatically goes to making money. And it's pulling up every memory it has subconsciously about making money. It's like you've got a Rolodex in your brain. So it's like going through all of the images, memories, emotions, associations to making money. And if making money in the past statistically hasn't been easy, then that is the emotion that your body is pulling up. And then it's also matching an image to that. So now it might be thinking about the last couple of years of you trying to make money and it hasn't been easy. And even though you want so badly to believe it, your body is just holding on to, but it wasn't easy yesterday. It wasn't easy last week. Wasn't easy a year ago or 10 years ago. It wasn't easy for my parents when I was a kid. So why would it be easy for me now? Because you've put that key indicator before the feeling state. So again, making money is easy. It is so much more powerful and better to get your brain on board with the feeling of ease by putting that first. It is easy to make money. Now, before we even add in make money, when you say it is easy, without thinking, the subconscious mind is going through its Rolodex, like all the times that your body has felt ease, that something has felt easy. And maybe something else in your life feels very easy for you to do, whereas making money is a bit more challenging. Let's just say something that's easy for you is gardening. And you're like, it's so easy to garden, and gardening is so easy. Like those flow really well together. So when you say it's so easy to make money, right away, when you say easy and gardening is easy for you, it's not that you're necessarily pulling up the image of gardening, but you're pulling up the feeling of ease. Your body knows this. Your brain knows this. So now it can drop in and hold the emotion, easy. And then we say to make money. We are putting the feeling before the desire rather than the desire before the feeling. Because in NLP, everything starts with taking in information first, processing that information, creating a language for it, and then running the program. So in order to create the right language, we've got to take in the right imagery first. So it's really important when we're doing subconscious work. I'm not a hypnotist, I'm not a hypnotherapist, I'm not somebody who does EFT work. I would imagine that the premise of all of those modalities is doing the same thing. We need to go beneath the conscious mind, beneath the analytical, the decision-making, the brain on thinking, to below to the subconscious, where it is responding to the conscious mind. And the really interesting thing about the subconscious mind, I said this earlier, but this has been proven time and time again with many experiments and studies and research, is that the subconscious mind does not know the difference between you talking about yourself and you talking about somebody else. It just believes everything to be as truth and to be as truth about you. So if you are gossiping about somebody else and gossip carries a low vibration, your subconscious mind thinks that you are talking about you in a low vibrational state. This is why we want to really start to pay attention to the conversations that we're having, the environments that we put ourselves in, the relationships and connections that we have, and ultimately taking stock of how we feel on a day-to-day basis, and more than that, on a moment-to-moment basis in our body. Because when we can do that, when we get so used to becoming aware of how the thought creates the feeling and the feeling is reproducing more of that same thought, everything in your life will change. You will have better thoughts, you will have better feelings, you will have better outcomes, you will feel better. And when we talk about manifestation, this is a whole other episode, how I pair NLP with manifestation. But when we talk about manifestation, it does not matter if you want success, money, boats, homes, retirement savings, if you want the dream body, the dream relationship, it does not matter what you want. Those are all external materialistic things. What you're really saying you want is the feeling attached to those. You want excitement, you want security, you want freedom, you want love, you want joy, you want abundance. That's all feeling states. And so if we're ultimately striving for the feeling, how powerful is it to know that you can be responsible for generating that feeling in your body every single day when you become incredibly aware of your thoughts? Your thoughts create your feelings repeat back and create more of those thoughts. Okay, that's my kind of simple-ish explanation of what NLP is, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. If you're curious about how we can work together, then just send me a message and we can talk about what this looks like. I do encourage, if you want NLP for your business specifically, to come join us inside of Align CEO Method. I do an NLP mindset call every single month for our whole community. Everybody loves it. They're obsessed with this call. And then I can take time to work on specific NLP programming and language specific to you on our bi-weekly Vortex call where we get to do some one-to-one coaching. Okay, have a great day, everybody. Thank you for tuning into this episode. If you learned something new, if you learned something interesting, please reach out and let me know. And I would love if you shared this with somebody else. Leave a rate and review. All that stuff is really helpful. Thank you for listening. It's always so appreciated. And I hope that you have a really great day.